Her father was gone before she fully understood what had been taken from her. She had spent 3 years watching him get smaller. The illness did what illness does. It narrowed everything: the world, the conversations, the man himself. Carmen told herself the grief would eventually make sense. She was wrong about the grief, and she would discover she was wrong about something far bigger. Carmen was 36 years old and had been a paralegal for 11 years. She spent her days reading contracts, flagging inconsistencies, finding the exact line in a document where something had gone quietly wrong. It was not glamorous work, but she was precise, and she was patient, and she was good at it. She knew what legal documents sounded like when they were correct, and she knew, the way experienced readers always know, what they sounded like when something was off. Grief, she would later say, temporarily took that ability away from her. It made her doubt what she knew. That is exactly what they were counting on. Her father had remarried when Carmen was 19 years old. Sandra was pleasant, polished. She laughed at the right moments and asked the right questions about Carmen's life. Her son, Derek, was cordial, quiet in the way that reads as respectful until much later, when you realize it might be something else entirely. Carmen's younger sister, Anna, had never fully warmed to either of them. Anna had said more than once, "Something about that woman is performance." Carmen had told her she was being too sensitive. She would spend years thinking about that conversation. Their father's estate was worth just over $400,000. A house he had owned for 30 years. 2 retirement accounts he had contributed to since his 40s. A savings account he had never touched. The one he called the girls' money when they were young. Carmen had assumed they would divide it. That was how her father had always spoken about it, in the careful way that people speak about things they plan to handle but haven't written down yet. She was at the attorney's office when she understood that something was wrong. By the time the reading was finished, Sandra and Derek had received everything: the house, the retirement accounts, the personal property, the savings account he had called the girls' money since Carmen was 11 years old. Carmen and her sister Anna received $12,000 combined. The attorney would not look up from the papers. Carmen looked at Sandra. Sandra was already looking out the window at something in the parking lot below. The family said Carmen was grieving. They said she was looking for someone to blame because she could not accept that her father was truly gone. Her aunt called and said, "Sweetheart, sometimes parents make choices we don't agree with. You have to let it go." 2 weeks after the funeral, Sandra sent a card. It said, "Your father wanted this. He told me many times. I hope someday you'll understand." Carmen read the card twice. Then she put it in a drawer. She did not throw it away. Even then, even in the fog of everything, some part of her understood she might need it later. 3 weeks after the funeral, Carmen went back to work. She sat at her desk. She opened her computer, and instead of the case files she was supposed to be reviewing, she pulled up the county property records. She was not sure what she was looking for. She told herself she was just checking. The house had been transferred 18 months before her father died. Not to Sandra directly, to a limited liability company called Meridian Asset Holdings, LLC. Carmen looked at the name again. Then she ran the business registration. Meridian Asset Holdings, LLC was registered to Derek, filed just over 2 years ago, a year before Carmen's father's condition had visibly worsened. Her father had signed the transfer documents, but her father had been formally diagnosed with early-stage vascular dementia 11 months before the date on those documents. Carmen checked the date 3 times. The math did not work. She kept going. The retirement accounts had a beneficiary change, filed 14 months before her father died. The savings account, $47,000, the account he had never touched in 30 years, had been liquidated in 2 separate withdrawals. Both withdrawals took place while her father was hospitalized for a cardiac procedure. Both were authorized by someone with power of attorney. Sandra had power of attorney. Carmen pulled the original power of attorney document. It had been notarized on a date that matched a hospital admission record. She called the notary's office. The notary had retired. Her records were in a county archive 2 cities over. Carmen filed a public records request that afternoon. Then she drove 40 minutes to the county clerk's office and filed a second one in person, to be safe. She found the original will in a shoebox on the top shelf of Anna's closet. Their father had put it there himself, quietly, without telling anyone, 3 years before he died. It was handwritten on yellow legal paper, witnessed by 2 neighbors who still lived on the street, a couple in their 70s who had known him since the house was new. In the will, he left the house to Carmen and Anna equally. He left the financial accounts to be divided 4 ways, including Derek and Sandra. It was fair. More than that, it sounded like him. It had his cadence, his handwriting, the way he organized his thoughts. It was not the document that had been read at the attorney's office. Carmen sat on Anna's bedroom floor for a long time after she found it. Then she photographed every page. Then she called an estate attorney. She did not call Sandra. She did not call Derek. She did not post anything online, say anything to extended family, or hint in any direction that she was looking into anything at all. She worked for 9 months. The estate attorney took the case on contingency, meaning he believed in it enough to wait for his fee. Together, they documented every transfer, every date, every discrepancy, every signature. They found a second power of attorney document, filed 6 weeks after the first, that extended Sandra's authority in ways the original had not granted. They subpoenaed the bank records. They obtained the hospital admission logs. They found that on the day the second power of attorney was signed, Carmen's father had been administered a sedative following a procedure. They hired a handwriting expert who specialized in documents signed under cognitive impairment. The expert's report was 64 pages long. The conclusions were precise and devastating. They filed on a Thursday morning: breach of fiduciary duty, undue influence, fraudulent transfer of assets, elder financial abuse. The court issued an emergency freeze on Meridian Asset Holdings LLC within 48 hours of the filing. Derek's attorney called Carmen's attorney the following morning. Sandra's attorney called that same afternoon. Both calls were about settlement. Carmen's attorney returned neither call. He sent a single written response. It said, "We will see you in court." The case took 14 months. Sandra's legal team argued that Carmen's father had been competent at the time of the transfers, that he had wanted to provide for his wife and stepson, that Carmen was a grieving daughter inventing conspiracy from heartbreak. The handwriting expert took the stand for 2 full days. The hospital records were entered into evidence. The original yellow paper will, witnessed by the neighbors, dated 3 years before the transfers, was admitted as the controlling document. The judge ruled that Sandra had exceeded the scope of her power of attorney authority and had done so during a period when Carmen's father demonstrably lacked the cognitive capacity to authorize the transactions she had executed. The property transfer to Meridian Asset Holdings was voided. The retirement account beneficiary changes were reversed. The savings account withdrawals, $47,000 from the account he had never touched, became the subject of a separate criminal referral to the district attorney's office. Carmen and Anna received what their father had always intended. Not everything. Legal fees, 2 years of time, the particular and irretrievable cost of having to prove that someone had stolen from a man while he was dying. Those things cannot be returned. But the house, the accounts, the savings he had set aside since they were girls, those came back. Carmen never spoke to Sandra or Derek again, not from anger. She will tell you that clearly in the flat, matter-of-fact way of someone who has genuinely moved past something. From clarity. Some people will never understand what they did was wrong. They have constructed a version of events in which they are justified, even reasonable. You cannot spend your life waiting for that understanding to arrive. Carmen spent part of the estate on something her father had always said he wanted to do, but never had time for. She and Anna flew to the region where their grandfather had grown up. They walked streets their father had described but never visited. They ate food he had talked about since they were children. Anna said he would have loved this. Carmen said he did love this. We're just here for him. 9 months of patient work, 14 months in court, 2 years and 3 weeks from the day she pulled those property records to the day the ruling came down. That is what it costs. That is what it takes. That is what it is worth. If this story found you at the right moment, you know what to do. Subscribe. Leave your story in the comments. I read every single one. Until next time, stay patient, stay sharp, stay quiet.